Today, we're excited to welcome Genie Bouchard back to the podcast. She's without a doubt one of the most popular guests that we've ever had. Seriously, I don't think we get asked more by our listeners about when we're having someone back on the podcast. She's a Wimbledon finalist, a former top five on the WTA, and one of the most recognizable figures on and off the tennis court. And she did tell us last summer at the Rogers Cup that we were the first ever podcast that she'd been on, and we're very proud of that. Genie, welcome back to Matchpoint Canada.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, great to have you. And we were excited, I think, to see you competing again at the Credit Bank One Invitational, a fun exhibition down in Charleston. Just to start, I guess, how have you held up over the last few months in quarantine, and what was it like just getting back on court competing again?
Yeah, quarantine was obviously tough. Obviously, beyond that, the toughest part is the people, trying to combat this crisis and all the frontline workers and everything like that. But, being forced to be at home, not having a job, it obviously has its own challenges in itself. And, I think it was more mentally tough than anything, and just, kind of trying to stay day by day as opposed to thinking, oh my God, when are we going to be back? And I feel like when I tried to have that mentality, it helped me, and time kind of went by pretty quick. I mean, here we are, it's already the end of June, which I find is crazy. So yeah, I'm just super grateful to be able to have some opportunities now.
And just at the event there in Charleston, we actually saw you hitting with a couple of our podcast guests, Brad Gilbert, and I recently spoke with Renee Stubbs actually a bit over a month ago. Just curious, is this like a little trial run, just hitting with those two, or are you actually seeking out maybe a new voice or two to add to your coaching team?
I am definitely seeking out a new coach. I'm based in Vegas now. I train with Gil Reyes out there, who's obviously Andre Agassi's former trainer. I'm lucky enough that Steffi and Andre do come on the court and help me when I'm out there. But this week with Renee is a trial, and I like her a lot so far. She has great energy, great information. And with Brad, that was when I was in Vegas as well. He came out for a weekend to just help me out for a couple of days. And so I just think, hearing voices of people like these who have so much experience, who've all played themselves and then now are in the coaching world, I just take what they say, I absorb it all. I take it obviously I just listen to everything they say, and then I take it as the truth, because, they've been there and they've done it. And so I just feel super lucky that I've been able to have such amazing people in my corner.
Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi, it's tough to beat that. And both of them
can't find a better combo than that, really.
Right? Both former Wimbledon champions. And this week would normally mark the beginning of Wimbledon, a tournament where you've had so much success from your junior win in 2012 and making the finals as a pro in 2014. How special is Wimbledon to you, and what positive memories do you have from your past experiences there?
Yeah, I mean, I've always said it's my favorite Grand Slam. No matter what, I think it probably always will be. I just feel like it has that special tradition and history, and it's the one that when I was a kid, I really paid attention to on TV, and always, imagined myself winning. So yeah, it's super sad. I can't believe Wimbledon's not happening for the first time since like World War II this week. So it's tough, but it's an important decision that was made. I think it was the right decision, and so now we just have to, just handle it, and look forward to next year.
Another big event this week for those of us here in Canada is the celebration of our country's 153rd birthday, if my math is correct. So Canada Day is happening. You've been in the U.S., it seems, for pretty much the bulk of quarantine isolation. What are you missing the most about being up here? And do you have any plans to celebrate Canada Day where you are? Maybe a shot of maple syrup, like a Vashik Popsicle, for example?
Yeah, I miss Canada so much. I really don't get back often anymore. I think the last time I was there was Christmas. So obviously the quarantine this year was something that was extra special, but I miss my family so much. I haven't seen a lot of them, especially with the border being closed. People can't even visit me right now. So that was like extra tough during quarantine. Especially in the summer, I think all the city, I'm from Montreal. So for me, Montreal is just such a fun city in the summer. And so much energy to it. There's festivals, there's like stuff going on downtown, there's like the warm weather, there's the old port. And so just kind of experiencing stuff that was always in my backyard as a kid, but obviously as a kid, not really appreciating it. Now I go back and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm from this really cool city. So Those aspects I definitely miss. I will be celebrating from afar and, giving my thoughts and wishing I was home. I mean, I don't think I've ever been home from Canada today since I was like, I don't know, 12 years old. And usually I'm at Wimbledon. So when I'm retired, I will come back and celebrate.
That sounds like a plan. And just as you mentioned Montreal, we had the chance to speak with you at Rogers Cup last summer, and unfortunately can't do the same this summer. And you would have been in Montreal later this summer, but of course both events being postponed. I guess, what do you think you'll miss the most about the hometown tournament, and where does Rogers Cup maybe rank for you, kind of priority wise, in your schedule?
Well, as in terms of priority, it's always up there. It's always something I make myself available to play. What I miss most would definitely be like the fans, the crowd. I mean, no one goes as hard for me as they do over there. They're just so passionate and really support me, especially with it being specifically in Montreal. Then my, family and friends are able to come who, often don't get to see me play, or, let's say my grandpa or my great aunt or things like that. They only see me play live, whenever I play in Canada. So that's either Rogers Cup or like Fed Cup if it works out. So, I find it extra special to be able to play in front of them because they've seen my journey since I was a kid. So yeah, I'll definitely be missing the fans over there. Maybe they're missing me a bit too, hopefully. But I'm so happy to hear that we'll be back in Montreal next year because we can't just like skip a year. We can't do that. So I'm happy.
Yeah, we agree with that. And I felt last summer when we spoke to you and you were in Toronto, actually, it seemed like you had just this great perspective on the sport, just recognizing the things you have accomplished. We talked about the Wimbledon final, top 5 in the world. And you said, I remember, these accomplishments, you have them forever. And I'm just wondering, for you, do you find it's harder maybe for younger athletes coming up in the sport to maybe appreciate their accomplishments in the moment, given just the amount of pressure there is? And I guess, what would a slightly older Genie maybe tell a younger Genie about those successes?
I think you can see it both ways because obviously, whatever you've accomplished, no one can take that away from you. But at the same time, you don't want to let that like make you be complacent and relax, and you don't want to just rest on your laurels. So I think you need to find the right balance because yes, you want to appreciate it in the moment. And I think only time can make you appreciate it more. But at the same time, you can't be like, okay, well, I've done this and that's kind of good enough. And, while you're in your career, if you want to keep going, I think it's important to constantly want to strive for more. So it's a balance for sure.
In terms of striving for more, and when you get back to competing in regular tour events, obviously the ranking is a challenge right now because of 2019. Where do you see yourself starting back, and how much motivation have you got? I mean, when we've spoken to you in the past, it seems really high, and the way that we see you training off court, obviously the desire is there. Where do you see yourself starting back to make the climb back to the top levels of the game?
Yeah, so it's gonna be tricky for sure. As of right now, real tournaments start August 3rd. With my ranking, I definitely need to play some of the ITF challengers, which are good for me to play anyway because I need matches. I need to just get those wins, get those confidence wins back. So I don't think the ITF schedule is like fully released yet. So it's like we're kind of still in the dark, which is tough. But as soon as that's out there, I want to play a mix of like those ITFs and whichever WTA events I can maybe get wildcards into and kind of start from there. But I'm super grateful that, I'm here in Charleston right now. I just finished this week where we had, high quality matches against some of the top Americans here, and actually a fun week because it was kind of a team event. And this weekend, I'm actually tomorrow, we're driving to Lexington, Kentucky, because there's another like kind of charity event where I'm going to get 3 singles matches over 3 days. And then after that, I have World Team Tennis, which is like 2.5 weeks of like matches. So it kind of suddenly just all started again. And obviously these matches don't count for points, but everyone's kind of taking them seriously because it's all we've got. And I certainly am. And I'm just, yeah, again, super grateful. And, I appreciate having a job after not having one. So, it just all suddenly started. So I'm just like in the middle of kind of trying to get back to like feeling like a touring professional.
That's great, and great to see. I guess you're getting so much match play over the next few weeks, which is, I think, crucial. But before we let you go, we wanted to give just a few listener questions who filed a few questions last night. Only had one marriage proposal, just so you know, but most of the questions.
Toning down. I'm toning down.
Yeah, but here's one question from Lawrence. He asked, "What did you learn about yourself during quarantine?"
That's a very good question. I feel like lots of people learned a lot about themselves, and if they were quarantined with other people, they probably learned a lot about the other person as well. I was mostly alone. I was able to keep, training a little bit, and then when things opened up again, back to full training. But what I learned was that well, first of all, love learning. I picked up a couple of things during quarantine. I did an online class with Harvard, which was super interesting. Neuroscience. Don't ask me why I tried to do the hard thing. Yeah.
Impressive.
I did pass though, of course, but if I do something, I do it 100%. It gave me like 5 weeks to do it. I did it in like 2 weeks. I was like, I'm doing this every day.
Wow.
I started learning the piano. And I was also keeping up. I've been trying to learn Spanish for like a while now. And then quarantine, I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a real effort. So I was doing that. Although now, since I started training more, I kind of toned down everything again and I feel more back to normal. But for those couple months, I was like totally doing a bunch of different stuff I never would have had the chance to do. And I just realized like, I just love expanding like my horizons and trying different things. So
I'm feeling really, really lazy right now about what I've accomplished in the past.
So
3
I didn't
months.
say that to mean that for anyone, but for me, like I like to work hard and I need to do things or else my brain goes crazy. So I had to like look, don't worry. I watched my fair share of like TV shows. I definitely spent a lot of time on the couch, so much so that like my back was getting stiff. And I was like, hey, this is a problem. I need to start. But
one last question for you here from Ross, another one of your fans here was, what did you miss most about tennis during the lockdown?
It's crazy that I found myself missing like small random things. Like I remember before coming here to Charleston, a couple days before, I kind of turned to my mom and I was like, I miss being like at the gate at an airport. Like I actually miss traveling and like I've always loved traveling, but after doing it for a while, like the grind of it was definitely like became less fun. And going to the places was fun, but just the act of traveling was like a grind. And I was like, oh my God, I miss like being on a plane. Like I didn't go on a plane for 4.5 months. That's the longest I've been not on a plane since I was literally 10 years old. So I was like, gosh, like I miss all this. And then I traveled one day and I was like, all right, yep, don't miss it anymore. I'm good. But yeah, again, just so grateful that slowly our sport is coming back and I hope for a great return.
Well said. Well, we thank our listeners for their questions. So many good ones we couldn't get to, and we've got plenty more as well. So hopefully down the road, Genie, we have you back on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time and have a great Canada Day.
Thank you. Yeah, just hit me up. Have a great Canada Day as well. Thanks for having me, guys.
There you have it, Genie Bouchard.
Thanks, Genie. Have a good training session.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.